related issues like birth registration, having a name, having a nationality, have been on the books for a little longer, and there's obviously been a great deal done to improve birth registration. There's been a great deal, or more and more done on issues of statelessness. Well, really what we're seeing now with, first of all, the growth of surrogacy as a practice, or at least in certain countries, and secondly, the results of some, let's say, highly questionable practices in the sphere of international, inter-country adoption in the 1970s and 1980s, with the result that there are now young adults who are questioning the circumstances of their adoption, trying to trace their roots and finding obstacles all the time on the path. States are now bound to take precisely this question of identity more and more seriously. They will have to do it. They will have to keep doing so, because the arrival, for example, of the Hague Convention on Intercountry Adoption did not put a stop to some pretty nefarious practices, and children who were adopted since the start of this century. Regrettably, many children are going to find that they will not be able to find their roots. They won't be able to trace their roots, and they will be faced with obstacles to that if states don't move forward much more effectively to assist in them doing so. I mean, in particular, I would say birth registration is non-controversial. Everybody basically thinks it's an excellent idea. I've never heard anybody say anything against the idea itself. It's a challenge, but it's the basic idea is absolutely accepted. So it's fairly easy ground. I mean, it's like like the traditional things that we did for children in general. The identity issues are those that have been man-made. All right, it's not that there's been a pandemic, or there has been such and such a problem where we're reacting to it. We are now reacting to, we are in the sphere of identity, we're reacting to problems caused by other human beings, all right? By certain policies, by certain approaches, by certain even mindsets, which have said, it doesn't matter if a child loses his or her identity in an adoption, for example. We're going to keep the adoption secret. We're going to move ahead as though this child is our child, and it doesn't matter about his or her roots. I mean, that was the thinking even the thinking still in certain countries, where the secrecy of adoption was paramount, not the best interests of the child. So tackling this issue means actually, tackling some pretty sensitive subjects, and I would say that the issue itself is not sensitive, but what it requires you to do, to dig into, to question, sometimes many years later, it's that brings up the sensitivity, and it's why, for example, many governments are so resistant to undertaking inquiries into what happened 30, 40 years ago, and the extent to which the state and others were complicit in these acts, which we now see today as being fundamentally against the rights of the child.